Howdy. Been burned by thinking the empty string or the number 0 is falsy? You're not alone. You might be struggling to handle a missing ID or department while keeping your logic clean and readable. This AI-mentored walkthrough of the name badge exercise cuts straight to the professional solution, teaching you the precise idiomatic way Elixir handles the absence of a value using nil and the if macro.
Let's dive into the name badge challenge from Exorcism. Now, this one looks super simple on the surface, but trust me, it's hiding a really important lesson. How one single Elixir concept can help you get rid of messy conditional code and make everything way cleaner.
So what's the secret sauce here? What's this one macro that's built for these simple yes or no decisions? That's exactly what we're going to uncover.
I've downloaded the name badge exercise using the Exorcism CLI. I've loaded it up into VS Code, and I've just completed running the prompt that brings the instructions into the source code. We're going to complete this in what I think is the best spirit of the instructions, and then we're going to take a look at a couple of tweaks that I think almost all of us would reach for and want to do.
Let's get our hands dirty and build our first name badge. We'll start with what's called the happy path, the perfect world scenario where we have all the data we could possibly need. Okay, so here's the deal. We get an ID, a name, and a department. Our job, mash them all together into a single string, just like you see here. Oh, and one little rule. The department has to be in all caps. Simple enough, right? This is our starting point. Boom, there it is, a perfect badge.
The first instruction is to print the string with the ID, their name, and the department, assuming all of those fields are provided. We can start with this string right up here, and then we could fill in the ID using interpolation, their name, oh, let's not get ahead of ourselves, and the uppercase department.
First up, nil. Now, if you're coming from pretty much any other programming language, you've seen something like this. Null, none, you know the drill. It just means there's no value here. But here's the key thing to remember. It's not the number 0, it's not an empty string, it's just nothing. The pure absence of information. And that little detail, it's super important.
And that brings us to this really cool concept in Elixir called truthiness. You see, in a lot of other languages, things like the number 0 or an empty string, they're considered falsy. But Elixir? Nope. It keeps things dead simple. Only two things are ever falsy: the actual Boolean false and our new friend nil. Everything else, and I mean everything else, is considered truthy. And we are about to use that to our advantage.
The Elixir truthy and falsy rule is like a nightclub bouncer who only denies entry to two specific people, nil and false, letting everyone else, including the zero-budget partygoer and the guy with the empty name tag, straight in.
Yeah, but let's be real, life is never that clean, right? What happens when a new employee starts and they don't have an ID yet? This isn't some made-up problem. This happens all the time. You've got to handle that incomplete data without crashing everything.
So the system just sends us nil for that ID. And if we just plow ahead with our current code, bam, it's gonna crash. We need to be smarter. We need to add some logic to handle this gracefully.
And this is where that whole truthiness thing we talked about just pays off big time. We can literally just write if ID. That's it. Because nil is falsy, that simple check is the perfect, most Elixir-y way to ask, hey, do we actually have an idea here? If we do, great, we format it. If we don't, if ID is nil, we just return the name. No messy ID equals nil checks. Super clean.
All right, the second instruction is for printing a badge for a new employee. In my estimation, what they want us to practice with here is if we have an ID, then we want to do the string we started with. Otherwise, we want to do this other string, and let's not get ahead of ourselves again. Thank you, Copilot. Like so. Did you know Elixir has an if and else clause, but no else if clause? Reach for the case, cond, or function head pattern matching for multiple branch logic.
All right, time for one last wrinkle in our plan. The owner of the factory, right? They need a badge too. But they don't really have a department. So that's another special case we need to figure out.
Yeah, so when that department value comes in as nil, we can't just leave it blank. The rules say we have to print the word owner instead. So we've got another little conditional puzzle to solve. And guess what? We're going to use the exact same trick. It's so good. We just create this little department label variable. We check if department. If it's a real string, it's truthy, so we just uppercase it. But if it's nil, it's falsy, and our else kicks in, and we just pop in the string owner. It's the same elegant pattern, just on a different piece of data. It's so cool.
The third instruction now takes into account the badge belonging to the owner and not a person in a department. So here what I think they want us to do is to say if department, then keep it, else set it to owner, and we're going to assign the result of this if clause back to department. Now here's where we can also take advantage of this. We can uppercase our department here and do it once instead of twice. Some of you may have remembered from the high score exercise that we can provide a default value here. I find default value to be a little bit of a confusing label because this will only happen if the argument is not supplied. In the test cases, the value nil is supplied, and so nil will be honored and not replaced with owner. So this default value syntax here will only work if the print function is called with ID and name.
Let's zoom out for a second. What did we actually learn here? Let's boil this whole exercise down into some simple rules you can use every day to write cleaner Elixir.
Here it is, your if-to playbook. Rule 1, use if for simple, binary, yes or no decisions. Don't overcomplicate it. Rule 2, and this is the big one, leverage truthiness. Just checking if value is the absolute best way to see if you actually have data to work with. And finally, rule 3, use that else clause to handle the nothing case, whether that's nil or false. It's a simple, beautiful, and powerful pattern.
Elixir developers have an aversion to nesting. This comes from Elixir's functional and declarative style, which favors pattern matching multiple function heads over if and case nesting, the pipe operator to flatten logic into clear linear data transformations, and early returns instead of deep conditionals. Some of you may thought to have reached for pattern matching in the function head, and that would have been a perfectly good answer also. I just didn't think it was quite in the spirit of learning the if clause. Here's how it might look. You might say, all right, well, if we have an ID, we do this. If we don't, we do this other thing. So let's create a function head that is def print nil, because we're not going to get an ID, the name and the department. And let's put our string uppercase in here. And then this one would become, let's grab this while we're right here. This version. And then we need to deal with the cases when the department is nil. So then we could say def print. We don't care whether we're getting an ID or not. Your name, oh. We do care, because we need to pass it on. We're just going to say department, and then if the department is nil, then we want to do whatever that is with the term owner. And this is also a very good solution. By mastering the precise distinction between Elixir's truthy and falsy values, you've developed an instinct for writing reliable conditional code. Use the if macro to keep your single path logic clean, concise, and explicit. Hit the like button if you learned something today or to let me know that you enjoyed the video. There is no else clause. Subscribe so you don't miss out on more accelerated AI guided walkthroughs that deconstruct complex Elixir challenges like this one. Dive into the playlist to continue building your expertise one powerful function at a time. See you next time.